Of the major movements in Continental philosophy since 1960, only the French feminists produced a program for renewing culture and philosophy. Although they learned powerful critical techniques from Foucault and Derrida and used them effectively to attack patriarchy, they also used the resources of other major continental movements to create a new vision of feminine possibilities. Feminine writing, feminine ethics, feminine epistemology, and the distinctiveness of women's experience. Resources from phenomenology, hermeneutics, Marxism, Nietzsche, and existentialism were quietly employed to elaborate these new positions. The difference between the French feminists and their post-structuralist contemporaries is that they found ways to nurture social change. Instead of relying exclusively on critiques of past philosophy and social science, they proposed alternative positions, defended new cultural goals, and founded a movement to realize them. Though post-structuralists imagined political alternatives, their efforts yielded few results, because their critical strategies undermined their own constructive ideas. Even the achievements of French feminism, despite its high aspirations and multiple fronts, were modest. Though it showed that much classical thought failed to incorporate the experience of women, the ramifications of this were unclear. Was the tradition to be dismissed entirely or merely supplemented? Why did post-structuralist critique succeed in silencing the rest of the continental philosophy? The hypothesis of William Schroeder says that defenders of earlier movements failed to counterpunch because they already sensed serious flaws in their positions. These doubts prevented partisans from rallying to the defense of their movements. Let me briefly indicate some of these only half-acknowledged problems. Though Hegel offered many powerful insights into modernity, philosophical dichotomies, and social recognition, Hegelians had lost confidence in concepts, the underlying patterns defined in the logic that allegedly inform nature and spirit. Without confidence in the central core of Hegel's system, only piecemeal contributions to current problems were possible. Hegelians withheld possible responses to post-structuralists' attacks on the dialectic because they had already abandoned it in spirit. Marxists, already on the defensive because of the tyranny and inefficiency of existing communist governments, began to doubt Marx's economics, the heart of his system. They questioned whether Marx's historical predictions would be ever confirmed, since capitalist economic principles were being deployed even in the most entrenched communist countries. Though they continued to use Marxist tools to analyze current cultural problems and Marx's ideals to challenge contemporary capitalism, Marxist answers to post-structuralist objections were half-hearted because they doubted Marxist humanism and the presumed primacy of economic production. Moreover, Marxist alternatives to capitalism simply disappeared. Nietzscheans maintained Nietzsche's critical vision, the revaluation of all values, and the critique of morality and modernity, but they balked at his aristocratic radicalism in politics and culture. They vacillated over his critique of equality, his constructive perfectionist ideals, and his vision of a new culture based on an order of rank. They believed that Nietzsche correctly diagnosed modernity's discontents, but they could not ratify his prescriptions. They fared better than the partisans of the other movements, because post-structuralists reinterpret Nietzsche rather than rejecting him. Though they embraced his alleged critique of reason, even post-structuralists ignored his challenge to equality, freedom, and eternity. In a similar fashion, Freudians sensed the difficulty of confirming and disconfirming Freud's speculative hypothesis, and life philosophers doubted whether life could bear the philosophical burden they had placed on it. When Deleuze attacked Freud for presupposing an ideal of coherent selfhood instead of acknowledging the potential curative value of schizoid experience, or when Foucault challenged Freud's repressive hypothesis about sexuality, Freudians seemed paralyzed. Moreover, when Foucault showed that life, like labor and language, threatened the importance of the category man as a useful philosophical theme, life philosophy itself was targeted. Only Deleuze used Bergson to discover a path to a new vision of process and becoming. Post-structuralists ratified the hermeneutic claim to cognitive frameworks play a constitutive role in human experience, only to reject the constitutive role of the subjects and authors. They thus challenged the interpretive standard of organic wholeness and and the importance of authorial intent. Yet, hermeneutic theorists had already abandoned the importance of authorial self-knowledge when they sought to understand authors better than the authors understood themselves. Also, their emphasis on cognitive backgrounds often overshadowed whatever conscious purposes authors might bring to their creations. Without authorial coherence, the justification for organic unity as the guiding ideal of interpretation collapsed. Any basis for responding to the post-structuralist attack was undermined by assumptions they already accepted. Hermeneutics prepared the way for its own demise. To be continued. See you before the climax.